What is FOMO syndrome and why it's destroying your happiness? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you were missing out on something important? Like the world was moving ahead without you, and you were stuck in place, watching from the sidelines? Maybe it was a party you weren't invited to, a new trend you didn't catch early enough, an investment you didn't make, or an opportunity you let slip by. That feeling, that deep, unsettling anxiety that you are not experiencing life as fully as others are, is what we call FOMO, the fear of missing out. And whether you realize it or not, it might be slowly eroding your happiness, distorting your perception of reality, and enslaving you to an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. FOMO is not just a modern phenomenon, despite what social media might have you believe. It has existed for as long as human beings have been capable of comparison. Ancient philosophers have long warned about the dangers of envy, restlessness, and the illusion that happiness lies somewhere outside of where we currently are. The Stoics, for example, believed that the key to a fulfilled life was not in chasing external experiences, but in mastering one's inner world. Yet, here we are in the 21st century, with more choices, more access, and more stimulation than ever before, and somehow we feel more deprived than ever. Why? Because the more we are exposed to what is possible, the more we are haunted by what we are not doing, what we have not achieved, and what we might be missing. Imagine this: you wake up in the morning and instinctively reach for your phone. You scroll through an endless feed of people who seem to be living their best lives, traveling to exotic places, attending exclusive events, achieving incredible milestones. Even if you were content just moments ago, a strange unease begins to creep in. Your life, which felt perfectly fine yesterday, suddenly seems inadequate. You compare your quiet morning coffee to someone else's sunrise in Bali. Your stable job starts to feel dull compared to an entrepreneur who just made a fortune. Your relationship, your body, your home, everything starts to feel like it's not enough. But here's the paradox: the more you chase what other people seem to have, the more you lose sight of what could have made you genuinely happy in the first place.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you can never have." And that's precisely what FOMO does to us. It traps us in a constant state of longing for a hypothetical future that we believe would have been better than our present. But here's the truth: in that future is an illusion. Every choice you make in life inevitably means closing the door on countless other possibilities. If you choose one career, you sacrifice another. If you commit to one person, you let go of infinite other romantic possibilities. If you spend your evening doing one thing, you cannot be doing another. This is not a flaw in life, this is life itself. Yet instead of embracing this reality, we torment ourselves with the belief that we should somehow be able to have it all. But let me ask you something: what if the real tragedy is not in missing out on something external, but in missing out on the present moment? What if, in our desperate attempt to grasp every possible experience, we are actually experiencing nothing at all? There is a story in Zen philosophy about a man who, while walking through the forest, is suddenly chased by a tiger. He runs for his life until he reaches the edge of a cliff. With nowhere else to go, he grabs onto a vine and dangles over the abyss. Above him, the tiger waits hungrily. Below him, sharp rocks promise certain death. Just then, he notices a single ripe strawberry growing from the vine. He plucks it, takes a bite, and says, how sweet it is. That is the essence of presence, the ability to savor what is in front of you, even when life presents you with uncertainty and the fear of what you might be missing. Now, think about your own life. How often are you truly present? How often do you fully taste your food, fully listen to a friend, fully appreciate the moment you are in without your mind wandering to what else you could be doing? FOMO tricks us into believing that happiness is always somewhere else, somewhere just out of reach. But what if happiness was not about having more experiences, but about experiencing more deeply? What if instead of chasing every fleeting opportunity, we learn to immerse ourselves fully in the ones we have already chosen? The irony of FOMO is that in our attempt to avoid missing out, we actually lose the only thing that is real, the present. So the question is not, what am I missing out on? The real question is, what am I failing to appreciate right now? The illusion of infinite choices and the tyranny of comparison. Human beings have always lived with limitations, yet in our modern world, we have been conditioned to believe that we should have unlimited choices. We are told that the more options we have, the better our lives will be. The perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect lifestyle, they are all out there, waiting for us to make the right choice. But what if this abundance of choices is not liberating us but enslaving us? What if the illusion of having infinite possibilities is precisely what makes us anxious, restless, and perpetually dissatisfied? We live in an era where everything is optimized for comparison. Every time we open our phones, we are exposed to a never-ending stream of curated lives, each one appearing more exciting, more fulfilling, more successful than our own. But here's the catch: what we see is not reality. It is a carefully constructed illusion, a highlight reel designed to showcase the best moments while concealing the struggles, the loneliness, the mundane realities that exist behind the scenes. And yet we compare our raw, unfiltered existence to this illusion and wonder why we feel inadequate. But the truth is, there is no life without trade-offs. The person traveling the world may be deeply lonely. The entrepreneur making millions may have sacrificed peace of mind. The influencer with the perfect body may be battling insecurities you will never see. But because we only see fragments, because we only see what is presented to us, we assume that others have something we lack. This is the tyranny of comparison. It makes us believe that life is a competition, that our worth is determined by how we measure up to others. But comparison is a trap because it is endless. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you experience, there will always be someone who appears to have more, to be doing better, to be living a life that seems just out of your reach. And so we chase. We upgrade. We jump from one thing to the next, believing that happiness is waiting for us just beyond the next horizon. But what if happiness is not in the next thing, but in the ability to stop chasing altogether? The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Man is condemned to be free." What he meant was that with freedom comes the burden of choice. Every decision we make is a rejection of countless other possibilities, and the weight of those unchosen paths can be overwhelming. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if, instead of mourning the paths we did not take, we fully embraced the one we are on? Because here's the paradox: when you are always looking sideways, when you are always wondering if there is something better, you are never truly living. You are trapped in a state of perpetual longing, unable to find fulfillment in the present. Imagine walking into a bookstore filled with thousands of books. You pick one up and start reading, but after a few pages you begin to wonder if there is a better book you could be reading. So you put it down and pick up another, and another, and another. By the end of the day, you have read the first few pages of 100 books, but have finished none. This is how many of us live our lives, constantly sampling, constantly switching, afraid of committing to any one thing, because we believe there is always something better just beyond our reach. But what if the true richness of life is not in having access to everything, but in fully immersing ourselves in something? What if depth, not breadth, is the key to fulfillment? There is a profound peace that comes with choosing, with committing, with accepting that you cannot have everything, but you can have something deeply meaningful if you stop looking elsewhere. Love, for example, is not found in the endless pursuit of the perfect partner, but in the decision to truly see and appreciate the person in front of you. Success is not in chasing every opportunity, but in dedicating yourself fully to a path you believe in. Happiness is not in doing everything, but in doing something with full presence and gratitude. So let me ask you, what if the fear of missing out is actually the fear of committing? What if we are not afraid that we are missing better experiences, but afraid that once we choose, we must let go of other possibilities? And if that is the case, then the solution to FOMO is not to chase more, but to embrace less. To stop looking over our shoulders, and to stop living in the illusion of infinite choices. To finally say, this is enough, this is where I am, and I will live it fully. The paradox of more, why having everything leaves you with nothing. We have been taught to believe that more is always better. More experiences, more achievements, more opportunities, this is the path to happiness, or so we are told. But what if this belief is not only false but deeply destructive? What if the relentless pursuit of more is precisely what leaves us feeling empty, restless, and disconnected from the life we are actually living? The paradox of more is this: the more we try to have, the less we truly experience. Imagine standing in front of a buffet overflowing with every kind of food imaginable. At first, the abundance seems like a blessing. You take a little from this dish, a little from that, sampling everything but savoring nothing. By the end of the meal, you are not satisfied, you are overwhelmed, bloated, and strangely unfulfilled. This is the reality of modern life. We jump from one thing to the next, constantly seeking new stimulation, believing that if we just experience enough, achieve enough, consume enough, we will finally feel whole. But instead, we feel scattered, disconnected, and perpetually unsatisfied. There is a reason why some of the happiest people are not those who have the most, but those who have learned to appreciate what they already have. The philosopher Epicurus understood this deeply. He believed that happiness was not found in endless pleasures or external achievements, but in simplicity, gratitude, and deep connection with the present. And yet, we live in a world that tells us the opposite, that fulfillment is always just beyond our reach, that we must keep striving, keep collecting, keep chasing. But let me ask you this: if more were truly the key to happiness, why do so many people who seemingly have it all still feel empty? Why do people who have access to every luxury, every experience, every opportunity often struggle with anxiety, depression, and a sense of meaninglessness? The answer is simple: because there is no end to more. It is a treadmill that never stops. The moment you achieve something, the goalpost moves. The moment you experience something incredible, your mind begins searching for the next high. This is why people who are constantly chasing new experiences often feel a strange hollowness inside. They are always moving, always seeking, but never arriving. They are consuming life, but they are not truly living it. There is a story in Buddhist philosophy about a man who spent his whole life searching for enlightenment. He traveled to distant lands, studied under great masters, and devoted himself to endless spiritual practices. But no matter how much he learned, he always felt that something was missing. One day, exhausted and disillusioned, he sat under a tree and simply allowed himself to be. In that moment, he realized that what he had been searching for was never outside of him. It was in the stillness, in the simplicity, in the act of fully being present. This is the secret that our modern culture refuses to acknowledge. Happiness is not found in adding more to your life. It is found in fully experiencing what is already there. The deepest joys are not in the spectacular, but in the ordinary, not in the rare experiences, but in the ability to be present for the ones we often take for granted. A simple meal shared with a loved one, a quiet moment of reflection, the warmth of the sun on your face. These are the things that, when truly appreciated, bring a richness to life that no amount of external achievement can replicate. But here is the challenge: can you allow yourself to stop chasing? Can you resist the urge to constantly seek the next thing and instead immerse yourself fully in what is already in front of you? Can you let go of the belief that you need to do everything, see everything, have everything, and instead find peace in the depth of what you have already chosen? Because the truth is, you do not need more. You need presence, you need depth, you need the courage to say, "This is enough." And when you do, you may realize that what you were searching for was never out there. It was within you all along. Escaping the illusion: how to reclaim your happiness from FOMO. If FOMO is an illusion, then escaping it is not about doing more or having more. It is about seeing reality clearly. It is about breaking free from the mental prison that convinces you that happiness is always somewhere else, in something else, in someone else. Because the truth is, the more you chase fulfillment outside of yourself, the further you move from it. The more you compare, the more you feel inadequate. The more you try to grasp every experience, the more life slips through your fingers. So how do you step out of this cycle? How do you reclaim your happiness from the endless pull of what you think you are missing? The first step is awareness. You cannot escape FOMO if you do not recognize how deeply it has infiltrated your mind. Pay attention to how often your thoughts are consumed by what others are doing, what you could be doing, what you might be missing. Notice the way social media, advertising, and even casual conversations subtly convince you that your life is not enough. Ask yourself, who benefits from my dissatisfaction? Because the world profits from your restlessness. The more you feel like you need to keep up, the more you consume more products, more experiences, more distractions. But if you can see through this illusion, if you can recognize that you are being manipulated into believing you are lacking, you take back your power. You begin to understand that contentment is a radical act in a culture that thrives on your perpetual longing. The second step is presence. FOMO thrives on abstraction, on the idea that something out there is better than what you have right here. But when you fully engage with the present moment, when you immerse yourself in the reality of now, the illusion begins to dissolve. Because in truth, you cannot miss out on life. You are life. Everything you need to experience is already happening right in front of you. The sound of the wind, the feeling of your breath, the connection you share with someone when you truly listen, these are not lesser moments. They are life itself, and the more you anchor yourself in them, the less power FOMO has over you. But presence requires practice. It requires intentionality. It means putting down your phone and looking at the world with fresh eyes. It means resisting the urge to document every experience and instead allowing yourself to fully live it. It means choosing depth over breadth, allowing yourself to sink into the richness of a single moment instead of constantly scanning for the next one. And when you do, you realize something profound. You were never actually missing out. You were just distracted from the beauty of what was already yours. The final step is acceptance. FOMO is rooted in the fear that you are not making the right choices, that there is always something better you could be doing. But what if you accepted that life is not about making the perfect choices, but about fully embracing the ones you make? What if instead of mourning the paths you did not take, you found deep gratitude for the one you are on? Because no matter what you choose, there will always be other possibilities. There will always be things you do not experience, places you do not go, lives you do not live. But that is not a flaw, it is the nature of existence. And when you accept this, when you stop resisting it, you find something unexpected, peace. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you stopped chasing, stopped comparing, stopped believing that happiness was always just out of reach? What would happen if you fully arrived in the life you are already living? Because the truth is, the only thing you are ever really missing out on is the present. And the moment you realize that, the moment you truly see it, FOMO loses its grip on you forever.